How you feeling? It's such a beautiful song. Ba-dum-bum. It's such a beautiful song, and it's so simple, isn't it? We can be kind. But one of my favorite lyrics in this is this, and it's not enough to talk about it. It's not enough to sing a song. We must walk the walk about it. I mean, how hard is it to be kind? It's not that hard, is it? It really isn't. But what it does mean is that you have to get your bloated nothingness out of the way. I was going to say Ernest Holmes. Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson. To get your bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. To get all of this stuff out of the way. So this month, our theme is knowing. It's time for us to walk the walk about what we know. And so this is going to be a very important month for this spiritual community, to really pose the question of what do you know? Tell me what you know.
I know love.
What a great answer. Okay, good. Mimi? Are you crying?
No.
Okay, good. What do you know? Just tell me something you know, you absolutely know.
I know that I want peace.
Okay, beautiful. Okay. Patrick, yes.
I know I just got here from Mexico today, but I know I belong here.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody in the room has, Missy, come here. Okay, Missy, what do you know? Just something you know about life. What do you know?
Oh, it's so extraordinary.
This room is like levitating. Beautiful. Okay. So most of the time when you're not in a church setting, when you ask people what they know, they start telling you facts and figures. And our minds have learned a lot. William, you know a lot of stuff, don't you? No? Well, we do. We So, who's the president? Okay, really, that was not a difficult question, folks. How old are you? Yell it out.
60.
Some of you are very quiet with that answer. Okay. Where did you grow up? Name some of your siblings. Does everybody have like the only children here? Okay. What's your mom's name? What's your dad's name? What year did you graduate high school?
79.
What did you say?
79.
Oh, I forgot how young you were. I was like, I always think I'm his age, but I'm not. So here's the thing. We know a lot of facts and we know a lot of things, but very often facts are going to change. So what we know is going to change. And when we talk about spiritual truths even, we know, somebody, Pat, give me a spiritual truth. Did you hear what she just said?
I am. She said I am.
I am.
I am. That's a spiritual truth. Okay. Reverend Cheryl, give me a spiritual truth.
I am all the attributes of God.
You are all the attributes of God. Okay. Give me a spiritual truth.
I love to be here in this space. I love to hear you. I
Oh,
love to learn from you.
oh, that is definitely a spiritual truth. Spiritual truths are supposed to be infallible, absolute, cannot change. But what we're finding out is that some of our spiritual truths even, that we considered absolute, absolutely absolute, have shifted. Because science has come along and said to us, you know, this is actually how this works. So that spiritual truth you had, it's sort of true, but not exactly, and this is actually how it goes. But then that spiritual truth, I believe, in another 100 years will also get blown through the ceiling. So ultimately, at the end of the day, when we're talking about our theme of knowing, what is it for you to know? Because if you know a lot of facts and figures, they're going to shift, they're going to change. Even some of the spiritual truths are going to shift, they're going to change. So the knowing that I'm talking about, and I'd like you to really think about this month, is knowing yourself. Knowing you. Getting to know you. Because ultimately, you are changeless in truth. You are changeless. Now, I know that you all have personalities and that your personalities change. And that you may, one week you love doing this and the next week you don't like it anymore. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ability for you to dig so deep that you find a river that is flowing, that is the same as every person's in this room. That there is something in you so deep, so truthful, so vibrant, so passionate, so successful, so loving, so kind, that it matches everything else in the universe. Would you like to find that person? Would you like to dig so deep that you literally land in this sea of pure love and realize it's who you are? That's the work we have cut out for ourselves. So when I'm looking at knowing for this month, I'm looking at myself saying, how much more can I know of myself? You know, for a long time, we thought that who we were our personalities. We thought who we were our jobs, or our partners, or our careers, or our financial status, or even our sexual orientation. You know, oh, I'm a lesbian. Did you all know that? No. I'm a lesbian, I'm gay, I'm straight, I'm heterosexual, there's so many. I'm fluid, I'm not fluid, I'm whatever, you know? But that's still not who you are. You know, I tell this story about this woman that came to church on Easter who said to me, she said, she's Jewish. She said, every time you mention Jesus, it's a stake through my heart. I was like, don't come next week. Because it was Palm Sunday. And I said, yeah, that's not going to be so good for you. But she came. She came on Palm Sunday, and she walked by me. She didn't get in line to say hello to me. She walked by me and went, and left. And I was like, oh boy, next week's going to be a killer. So next week, it was Sunday, and it was about Jesus, although we also talked about Passover. But we did the whole Easter Sunday service, and she came through the line, and she just looked at me. I said, can I tell you something? Here's the problem. You still think you're Jewish, but you're God. God doesn't have a specific religion. And she looked at me, she went, what? And I was like, you still think you're Jewish, like people think they're Catholic or they think they're Protestant, and yet they're God. We're all God. And if we're all God, it doesn't matter if I'm talking about Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Moses, or Oprah. It just doesn't matter because we are God, all of us. And she went, oh. And she's been a member of the center ever since. I mean, she's great. And she no longer, when I say Jesus, I actually look right at her, just to be clear. And she goes, so good, good. I think she's joining Jews for Jesus. No. No. So the title of my talk today is, What Do You Know? What do you know about you? Because I guarantee you, if you ever go to a party and someone says, tell me about yourself, I guarantee your next sentence is not going to be, well, I'm God. Because probably that's the end of the conversation, right? But the question has to be, what do you know about yourself so profoundly that you could actually understand the power that you have? We teach this constantly. And I love that Sharon said that. Being in classes, that is so important to me, to be in them teaching, to be in them learning, because that's where the work happens. Sundays are great, and I love Sundays. But the classroom is where the work really happens, where you get in there and start digging out things like personality traits and habits and understanding none of them mean anything compared to who we really are. So if you would give me this next slide. So what I'm really talking about is divine knowing. Not a knowing about facts and figures. I don't care if you have a doctorate or a master's or a double doctorate. All of those are great. All that information's great in your mind, but at the end of the day, if the information that's in your mind doesn't spur something inside of you to live a better life, then it's just useless information. So that's not the knowing I'm talking about. Divine knowing is not about facts or measurements we can see, but is an understanding that comes from within, from our soul. And when we talk about soul in religious science, for a long time, we were talking about the law, but it's not about the law. When we're talking about the soul, we are talking about the entire enchilada. All of it. All of it. This room, this city, this state, this country, this world, the worlds all around us, the galaxies beyond and beyond and beyond. That's what we mean by the soul of the universe. And the soul of the universe knows itself through each and every one of us. Every individual here has this amazing soul that we get to live from. That's what I want you to get to know. That's divine knowing. That's you knowing something so profound your life can't help but change. You have an issue you're working on, and you remember who you are. The minute you remember who you are, the issue is illuminated because you get it. You just get it. So the next part of this is, in divine knowing, we do not require proof that something is what we know it to be in our hearts. Now, it's interesting. I'm teaching the Thursday night class called Advanced Consciousness, and the theme of that class is question everything. I want proof for everything. And then I get up here on Sunday and say, you don't need proof. And since some of you in the room are in that class, there's a reason for this. We do need to get proof. Proof beyond doubt when we sign on to things. We want to know this is the way it works. We want to know this is how my mind works, and this is why my mind works the way it works, because now I have a way of living my life from knowledge, from knowing, from intelligence. And yet, at the end of the day, all of that needs to be pushed aside, and you need to be able to say to yourself, now what do I know? What do I know intuitively? What do I know because of who I am? In divine knowing, we do not require proof that something is what we know it to be in our hearts. We feel it. We connect with it. We know it without having to think about it. What would your life be like if you started living your life from that understanding that you are the very presence of God? And you don't have to think about it, and you don't have to come to church to be told it, and you don't have to pray about it. You don't have to do a spiritual mind treatment, drop onto your knees, or go sit in a pretzel position in some class where you just knew it so clearly, you are just so concretized in this truth that that's how you live your life. That's where you live your life from. Well, I think that's what our month is going to be all about. It certainly is for me. So this is not about the facts you have accumulated. In fact, I found this really funny quote. Give me this next quote. So this is Brian O'Driscoll, an Irish rugby legend, because you know I'm very into sports. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. So we're going to talk about the wisdom side, not so much the fruit side. Although, from one fruit to another, I will tell you. So Knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Okay, tomatoes are fruit. Great. What does that do for you to know that? Nothing. Nothing, right? How much do you think is in your mind right now that you know that does nothing for you? I felt that way all through grade school. You know, in my seventh grade, on Good Friday of my seventh grade, I flunked geography, history, and science. I'm glad you're laughing. I was not. I got the Catholic, St. Bernard's Catholic grade school. I flunked geography, history, and science. 3 big red Fs, because they're very dramatic in those schools. Big red Fs. And I'm sitting, because you had to do the Stations of the Cross, it was Easter, and I am sitting watching these Stations of the Cross when they tell you, and this is where they stuck the nails in, and I'm like, you know what? This is nothing compared to what happens when I get home. My dad is a Philadelphia cop, and when he sees those 3 red Fs, Jesus will have had a field day compared to what's going to happen to me. But all that information, does it really matter that I could not find South America on a map? Can anybody else? Yes, you're all like, of course we can. I had to kneel in front of that map for hours, and the more I kneeled, the less I could see anything. You know, but was it that important? And math. My son has had a problem with math. Has had a really big problem with math. In fact, so much so that when we got to the last day, his graduation day from high school, Kevin and I were in the car driving to his graduation going, is he graduating? Do we know? I mean, they told him they weren't going to tell him until right before he went on stage whether he passed math. And I don't see how he passed math because he has no idea what it's all about. And he showed it to me and I went, I hate math. I don't know what to do with this. So they called his name. We were very relieved. I think some teacher got very, very nice and helped him get out of high school. Kind. He was kind, that math teacher. But it's so funny because Will is now an amazing screenwriter. And he had to take math last summer to get out of college because anyway, long story. He took the math class and he got an A. And I was like, what happened? And here's what he said. He said, you know what, Dad, here's what happened. I hate math, but I'm smart. But what I thought before was I was stupid and I hated math. He said, now I know I'm smart and I hate math, but I gotta finish it to get out of this damn place. And I was like, good for you, and you got an A. So now he's on the dean's list. He's graduating from the dean's list, which we're like, where did you come from? Because this is not high school. But at the end of the day, and this talk is a lot about what he said to me just the other day. He said, isn't it funny how much they make you learn in school that you're not going to use when you graduate? I said, I know, it is funny, but they want you to have a well-rounded education. So back to you. How much do you think you know that you don't need to know anymore? A lot? He meant a lot. Yes. So Elizabeth's back there covering her face. I don't blame you. So go to my next quote here. So Krishnamurti, a few years ago, we went to a workshop and to a weekend workshop with all of our practitioners to Krishnamurti's place up in Ojai, and it was so beautiful. And when I walked in and saw all of this, of everything that he had written, I had this feeling that there was a lot in the world that I didn't know. There were a lot of people and a lot of philosophy that I had not been exposed to. And I started thinking to myself, I have to stop just reading the same old books over and over and over, which is why our education department is really growing, so that we can bring in modern writers and try to understand things from a more expansive understanding. So listen to this. The day you teach the child the name of the bird, the child will never see the bird again. The child will lose its innate connection with the spirit of the bird and see only the labels attached to the name. Now just think about that for a brief second. What he's saying, and what I want us to look at, is this. The minute you start identifying yourself with the relative world, you start seeing yourself and believing the stories you've told yourself about yourself. The minute you start identifying with your personalities and your gender and your all these different things that we've given names to, you will never see your true self again, because you are relying on something that will change, that is changing even as we speak. You lose your innate connection with the spirit of who you are. So my gift this month to myself is to take the time, to spend the time really digging deep, really going deep, way deep, beneath all of the, you know what, beneath all of my personality, all of my traits, all of my tricks of the trade. I remember when I had just done a show in New York. I had just done West Side Story on Broadway, and I got into an acting class that was very hard to get into. It was a teacher that really screened his students. And I auditioned with a bunch of people, and I was the only one of all of my friends that got into this class. But in the first 2 weeks of the class, and Sigourney Weaver was in the class, and the guy that wrote the movie Philadelphia was in the class, and it was brilliant. He put writers, actors, and directors into the same class, told the writers to write for the actors and the directors to direct for the writers. And then we would just work together. I got to kiss Sigourney Weaver in a scene, which was not the highlight, but it was good. But I remember the second week I got up, and this teacher looked at me and he went, "You know what? The minute you stop believing the hype and everything you think you are, you'll start acting." He said, "Because what you're doing is just showing me how somebody else might have done it." He said, "I'd like to see how James Mellon," or it was Jim then, how Jim Mellon would do it. But at the time I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm an amazing actor." And I don't think I said that out loud. But he did say, he said, "As soon as you stop believing your own hype, you're going to get to be a better actor." And I didn't know what he meant, but a few weeks later, I got up to do a scene from Death of a Salesman. And he said to me, I did this whole beginning of the scene, he stopped me instantly. He's like, "Hold it." He goes, "Did you hear the car door close on your father's car just now?" And I was like, "What?" He said, "Did you hear the car door close on your father's car?" I'm laying in bed talking to Happy, and I was like, "I didn't read that in the script." He said, "Yeah, but you just sat up and you went, 'I think he's home.'" He said, "Did you hear the car door slam?" I said, "No." He said, "Because you're too busy acting." He said, "You need to start feeling. You need to start being present to what's there, to what's happening. Not just what's on the page, not just the personality, not just who you've decided you are, but to the truth underneath it all. If you're going to wake up and hear your father come home, you probably hear the car door close. How else do you know he just got home in 1950-something? So this month, we get a chance to allow ourselves to go deeper, to strip away the personality. And I'm not saying we should all walk around as automatons for this month, like, "Don't talk to me, I don't know who I am." That's not it. But you know, strip away the stuff that you don't need. Open yourself up to being someone else. Open yourself up to hearing things differently. Give yourself a chance to know you deeper. And you know what? You know how you have to know yourself? What it takes? It means you've got to give yourself time to hear yourself. Don't be so busy. Strip away all the trappings that stop you from hearing you. This month is about knowing who you are and being grateful for all of it, no matter what it is. How many of you have things in your past that you wish you hadn't done? Really, Sonia? Nothing? Maria has a lot of them for you. It's about loving all of it, but not taking it on as who you are. Just think about that for a minute. What if I could give you, if this were the Catholic Church, and I could give you absolution, I mean, that's one of the things that's sad for us. We can't go to confession here. I mean, you could. I could set up something in the other room. But remember how many people here were Catholics? Remember how easy it was? You'd go in, you'd say, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. Boy, have I sinned. And here's what I've done. And he says, okay, go do a rosary, if it's really bad. Go do a couple Hail Marys, and you're absolved. And you walk away going, oh, thank God, clean bill of health. I'm ready to just start all over. Well, what do we have as religious scientists? Bupkis? No. 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 We can be kind. We can be kind to ourselves first and then to everyone else and give ourselves the opportunity and permission to know ourselves, to know who you are, because at the end of the day, you are God. Everything that God is, you are. Man was made in the image and likeness of God if you go to traditional religion. In New Thought religions, man is made in the energy and the vibration of God. That there is this energetic pull, this pulse, this vibration, this love, this kindness, this passion that is right there. You just got to get out of the way and let it live you. So I give you this whole month to let yourself find out who you are, to know yourself at such a deep level that you'll be even surprised at who you are. And once you know that, once you know who you are, love only, forgive everything, but most importantly, remember who you are. Once you remember who you are, everything else unfolds from it. When you know that you are this presence, this immense, amazing presence, everything is possible. You are pure potentiality. You are sheer possibility. Everything is on the table. All you need to do is pick it and say, this is what I choose. And this is what I choose. And the universe says, yes, 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 yes. Because that's what happens when you remember who you are and you live your life from that knowing. Knowing that right where I am, God is. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.